Okay, so in the urogenital system, we're going to start with the uro part, or the urinary tract part. And so we're going to look for the kidneys. The kidneys are on either side of the pig. So they are covered by this tissue called peritoneum. And so we're going to move the peritoneum out of the way, and we can just pick away at it with our pointy probe in order to be able to see the different things we need to be able to see. We really don't want to go in here with scissors or a scalpel, because we don't want to cut away at the tubes that we're going to need to be able to see. So we're just going to use our pointy probe to pick away and get this tissue called peritoneum out of the way. Now hopefully your pig is going to have some brighter colors in it than my pig. My pig's latex didn't seem to work quite as well as I would have hoped, but this should still be good enough for you to see everything you need to see. So we're going to start with, here's the kidney, and you should be able to find the kidney. There, like I said, there are two of them, one on either side. And there's an artery going into the kidney and a vein coming away from the kidney, because of course the artery goes away from the heart. So arteries are red, so we're going to look. Here's our renal artery right here. This red artery going into the kidney is the renal artery. Veins are blue, so here's our renal vein. So a renal artery, of course, shouldn't be any surprise, is coming off of the descending aorta. The renal vein is going back into the caudal vena cava. So here's our renal artery, here's our renal vein. Here's the kidney, and the kidney is going to release liquid into this tube right here called the ureter. And the ureter is going to carry urine, once your kidney has made it, is going to carry the urine all the way to the urinary bladder, which you identified in an earlier lab as being right here. So here's the urinary bladder. Now, I have a female pig, so I'm going to go ahead and do the reproductive system of the female on this pig. And I will switch over and show you the male on a different pig. So some things are going to be immediately visible in here. And I'm going to look right here. And you can see these squiggly things that look kind of like ramen noodles. Those are the fallopian tubes. So here are the fallopian tubes, and we know that at the ends of the fallopian tubes, we should have ovaries. And ovaries are really tiny little things. This is an ovary right here, and this is an ovary right here. So the ovaries lead to the fallopian tubes. And then the fallopian tubes are going to lead to the uterus. Now it's hard to see the uterus in this pig, so we're going to have to cut away at the pelvis in order to be able to see that. This is not for the faint of heart. So again, if this is something that you struggled with earlier, you're going to want to turn away. You're not going to want to watch this happen because it could be kind of upsetting to you. Now, we're not going to cut anything off here. I'm freeing up the umbilical cord there, but I do need to cut through the pelvic bone. So I'm going to cut down here. And because I'm cutting through a bone, there's going to be a little bit of a crunch. And I guess I misspoke. You are going to take something out because you do have to take this pelvic bone out in order to see everything you need to see. Okay, be very careful here that you don't cut yourself, because sometimes there can be some resistance to the bone with the scalpel. And then this is just fatty tissue, so okay, and again, this is going to go into the garbage, not into the sink. And once I get this bone out of the way, I have to be careful here because we don't want to cut out the pig's uterus. I can pick away with my probe. And there is this connective tissue here. Okay, so here's my girl piggy with all of her parts showing. I have here the fallopian tubes that look like ramen noodles. They're nice and squiggly. And then you have the ovaries here and here. They're a little bit hard to see here because they are so small, but when you go to the ends of the fallopian tubes, you can see these little darker kind of spheres. They look almost like a tiny little thyroid. And they are at the end of the fallopian tubes, and that's where the eggs are going to come from. If you follow the fallopian tubes in, you'll see that they then lead to this tube right here, and that's going to take you to the kind of bulbous structure here. That is the uterus. So this, believe it or not, is where baby pigs are going to grow ultimately. Not for this pig, but this is the uterus. Quite nondescript, not at all what we think of it as looking like, what we see in pictures and things. The uterus then is going to come to a narrower tube here that is the vagina. And the vagina is where the male pig's penis will go. And that male pig's penis will come here to the urogenital opening. So here's the urogenital opening on the pig with the genital papilla right here, which is this little bump. Remember, papilla means bump. Now, this coming from the bladder is the urethra. And remember that in the pigs are a little bit different from humans. In humans, the urethra has its own hole out of the body, and the uterus and the vagina have their own hole out of the body. But in the pig, it doesn't. So you see that in the pig, these two come together right here. So here is where the urethra comes, here is where the vagina comes, and they go to that common opening, which is the urogenital opening. And the reason it's called urogenital is uro because of the urinary tract and genital because of the genital system and the reproductive system. So those are your parts of the female pig. Okay, so in the male reproductive system, first of all, the urinary part of the urogenital system is going to be pretty much the same. But in the male, the reproductive system is going to be very different. You don't need to cut away at the pelvic bone on the male. What you're going to do is you're going to look down here near the urinary bladder, and you're going to look for these tubes right here that are the vas deferens. So the vas deferens is going to go on either side. This testicle has already been removed, but remember that the testicles reside in the scrotal sac, which is down here. So we have to get the testicles out from down here up to where we can see them. So like I said, this one's already been removed, but we'll go in after this one. And what we're going to do, you have to be super duper gentle with this. You're going to start by just kind of giving a little tug on the vas deferens over on this side so that you can see where you are and what's going on. And then if you want, you can go in with your scalpel or your scissors and kind of loosen up the skin around there because the testicle is a little bit bigger, and so you need to make a little bit of space for it to come out. You want to be really careful, though, that you don't cut the vas deferens, because if you cut that, then you have nothing to pull on to get that bad boy out. So I'm just going to very gently but firmly, I guess, if that's a thing, tug until I get this testicle to come out. And ta-da! There it is. Okay, so here's the pig's testicle right here in my hand. So just to be clear, this whole thing right here is a testicle. So when we say testicle, this whole thing is a testicle. However, the testicle has a tissue around it, kind of like the pericardium that's around the heart and the peritoneum that's around the abdominal cavity. And we need to get that tissue off in order to see everything that's going on in here. So we're just going to cut away gently at the tissue. And we have to be careful because we don't want to completely cut the whole thing open. Or cut the whole thing off, I guess. We do want to cut it open. But we don't want to cut the whole thing off. And you can use your probe to help get that away, or you can use your scissors to help get to that. But you ultimately want to be able to see this little thing that looks like a little bean. And this is the testis. And right next to the testis, you're going to see the epididymis. So you have the testis here, and then you have the epididymis here. Testis, epididymis, leading to the vas deferens. And the vas deferens is going to lead us here. And the vas deferens will ultimately go down into the pig and come back up to the penis. Now, the easiest way to find the penis is to start at the urogenital opening and then take a scalpel and just kind of slice sideways this way, very gently though, because you don't want to cut your pig's penis. And if you do that, you'll get to this pinky tube right here that is your pig's penis. Now again, be very careful because you don't want to cut that off. So here's the penis. So we have a full testicle over here. When we go inside the testicle, oh, this is a better looking testicle. When we go inside the testicle, you can see the testis and the epididymis here, leading to the vas deferens, which is going to go in and come up at the penis.